Hey, welcome back. I want to start today's episode by asking you a question, and I want you to be completely honest with yourself. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone asks you a simple question in English, and suddenly your brain feels like a frozen computer screen? You know the words, you've studied the grammar, but instead of just speaking, your mind is furiously working behind the scenes. You take the English words you heard, translate them into your native language, formulate the perfect answer in your head, translate it back into English, check the grammar rules, and only then do you open your mouth. But by the time you're ready to speak, the moment has passed. The conversation moved on, and you're left feeling frustrated, exhausted, and honestly a little bit defeated. If you've felt that, you are not alone. And the problem isn't your intelligence. And it's not that you haven't studied enough vocabulary. The problem is simpler, yet deeper. You are trying to speak English, but you are still thinking in your native language. Today, we are going to fix that. Not with boring grammar exercises, and not with generic advice like, just practice more. We are going to explore exactly how to think in English, using a simple, story-based practice for everyday fluency. Over the next 35 minutes, we're going to sit down and unpack this together. I'm going to share a story with you, a real-life story of someone who was exactly where you are right now. A story that changes how you view mistakes, how you view your own brain, and how you approach fluency. By the end of this episode, you won't just understand why you need to think in English. You will have a practical, daily routine that you can start using the second this video ends. So grab a cup of coffee or tea, get comfortable, and let's really dive into this. Part 1. The Invisible Wall. The Myth of Translation. Let's talk about why we get stuck. When we learn English in school, we are often taught through translation. Table means this word in your language. Run means this action. It works for beginners, but it builds an invisible wall in your brain. When you translate, you are running a marathon just to say, "How are you?" Your brain is doing double the work. Thinking in English means cutting out the middleman. It means connecting the English word directly to the object or the feeling, without passing through your native language first. Why your brain tires out. Have you ever noticed that after speaking English for just 15 minutes, you feel physically tired? Your head might even ache a little. That's because translation takes massive cognitive energy. It's like running two heavy computer programs at the same time. We need to close the background program. We need to shut down the translation engine so your brain can flow naturally. The psychological trap. The perfect sentence. Here is where the psychology comes in. Why do we translate? Because we are afraid. We use translation as a shield to protect us from making mistakes. We think, if I translate it first, I can make sure the grammar is 100% correct before I say it aloud. But that fear is exactly what is keeping you trapped in hesitation. Fluency doesn't belong to perfectionists. Fluency belongs to people who are willing to be messy. Part 2. The Story of Leo. The Stuttering Coffee Shop. To understand how to break this wall, let me tell you about a guy named Leo. Leo was a smart guy, an engineer. He had read dozens of English books and could score perfectly on written grammar tests, but his spoken English felt like a broken record. Every morning, Leo went to a local coffee shop on his way to work. And every morning, the same thing happened. He would stand in line, looking at the barista, practicing his order over and over in his head. "I would like a medium black coffee and a croissant, please." No, wait, should I say "can I get" or "I would like"? Is croissant pronounced this way or that way? By the time he got to the counter, his heart was racing. The barista would say, "Hi, what can I get started for you today?" And Leo would freeze. The English words would crumble in his mind. He would stutter, point at the menu, mumble his order, take his coffee, and leave feeling a deep sense of shame. He thought, "I'm an educated adult. Why do I sound like a child every time I open my mouth?" The breakthrough with the old man. One rainy Tuesday, the coffee shop was packed. There were no empty tables, except for one where an elderly man named Thomas was sitting. Thomas saw Leo standing with his coffee, looking lost, and gestured for him to sit down. Thomas was a retired schoolteacher, the kind of person who could read people instantly. He noticed Leo's tense shoulders and the way he looked down. Thomas smiled and said, "Rough morning?" Leo panicked. His brain started translating, "Rough morning?" Rough means not smooth. Morning means today's early hours. He is asking if my day started badly." Leo took a breath and muttered, "Yes, English." "Difficult for me?" Thomas laughed softly. "English isn't difficult, son. You're just carrying too much luggage when you speak it." Leo didn't understand. Thomas pointed to a sugar packet on the table. "Leo, what is this in your language?" Leo told him the word. Thomas nodded. "And when you look at it right now, what do you see? Do you see the object, or do you see your native word first, and then translate it to sugar?" Leo paused. "I think my language first, then I think sugar." Thomas leaned forward. "That's the luggage. From now on, when you look at this packet, I want you to completely forget your native word. Look at the white crystals inside. Feel the paper. Connect the physical object directly to the sound sugar. No bridges, just a straight line. The labeling experiment." Thomas gave Leo a simple challenge for the next 7 days. He told him, "Don't try to have deep conversations in English yet. Your brain isn't ready to run. It needs to learn how to crawl in English first. For the next week, wherever you walk, look at things and just name them in English. Don't translate them. Just look at a tree and think tree. Look at a car and think car. If you don't know the word, don't worry. Move to the next thing." Leo promised to try it. The next morning, walking to the subway, he started. Street, bus, rain, umbrella, wet, cold. At first, his mind kept trying to slip back into his native language, but every time it did, he gently brought it back. Clock, desk, computer, coffee. By day 5, something strange happened. He was sitting at his desk and a coworker dropped a pen. Without thinking, without translating, Leo looked at the floor and his brain instantly thought, "Pen?" It was a tiny victory, but it felt massive. For a split second, there was no bridge. There was no translation. He had thought directly in English. Part 3. The lesson of the story. Shifting the psychological focus. What Leo learned from Thomas wasn't a new grammar rule. It was a psychological shift. You see, your brain is incredibly efficient. It always wants to take the path of least resistance. As long as you keep translating, your brain will view your native language as the home base and English as a foreign territory. It only visits temporarily. By practicing the labeling method, Leo was showing his brain that English could also be a home base. He was building new, direct pathways between his eyes and his thoughts. The power of small wins. The lesson here is that everyday fluency doesn't come from speaking for hours on stage. It comes from these microscopic, silent moments in your own mind. When you look at the sky and think, cloudy, instead of translating the word for cloud. From your language, you win. When you feel tired and silently think, I'm exhausted instead of your native phrase, you win. These small wins build emotional support within yourself. They prove to your subconscious mind that you can do this. The anxiety starts to drop because the pressure is gone. You aren't trying to give a speech. You are just acknowledging reality in English. Part 4, the step-by-step practice for everyday fluency. So, how do we take Leo's story and turn it into your reality? We use a 3-step daily practice that takes less than 10 minutes a day, but completely rewires how your mind processes the language. Step 1, the labeling method, 2 minutes. Start exactly where Leo started. Pick a time of day, maybe when you are brushing your teeth, making your morning coffee, or sitting on the bus. For 2 minutes, look around you and silently label everything you see in English. Mirror, toothbrush, water, cold, cup, spoon, hot milk. Do not use full sentences. Do not worry about grammar. Just build that direct connection between the world and the English language. Step 2, the self-talk method, 3 minutes. Once labeling feels comfortable, move up to simple, 1-word or 2-word action phrases. Become the narrator of your own life, but keep it incredibly simple. When you get out of bed, wake up. When you walk to the kitchen, walking. When you open the fridge, open door, hungry. You are creating a soundtrack for your daily actions using basic English words. This teaches your brain to associate English with action and movement, not just textbooks. Step 3, the evening recap, 3 minutes. At the end of the day, when you are lying in bed or sitting on the couch, take 3 minutes to summarize your day in your head using the simplest, past tense sentences you can manage. Today was busy. I worked hard. I ate chicken for dinner. Now I am tired. If you don't know a word, do not look it up right then. Skip it. Use a word you do know. The goal here is not accuracy. The goal is speed of thought. We want to train your brain to keep moving forward in English without stopping to look back at your native language. If you take one thing away from this episode today, let it be this. Fluency is not an all-or-nothing game. You don't wake up one day suddenly fluent. It is a slow, beautiful transition. The hesitation you feel right now? The freezing? It's not a permanent defect. It's just an old habit of translation that your brain has practiced for years. And just like any habit, it can be broken with a little bit of patience and the right daily practice. Be kind to your brain. Don't force it to run a marathon when it's just learning to walk. Start small today. Label 5 things around you right now as soon as this video ends. You've got this, and I'm right here with you on this journey. Thank you for spending these 35 minutes with me. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments below. What's one object near you right now that you can label in English? Let's start the practice right there. Take care of yourself, keep it simple, and I'll see you in the next episode.